allegations documented in the recently published 2020 audited report by the Auditor General of the Federation that the NNPC failed to remit the money into the Federation account, saying that the money may have been diverted. In the statement, SERAP urged the NNPCL to hand over suspected practices and other related offences commission, ICPC, and the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, for investigation and prosecution, and ensure the full recovery and remittance of the missing funds into the Federation account. In the suit, SERAP is arguing that there is a legitimate public interest in providing the details sought. The NNPC has a legal responsibility to account for and explain the whereabouts of the disappeared money. Without the full recovery and remittance of the missing 2.04 billion US dollars and 164 billion naira oil revenues, the dire economic situation may worsen and Nigerians will continue to be denied access to basic public goods and services. And according to SERAP, the Auditor General of the Federation has for many years documented reports of the disappearance of public funds from the NNPC. Now, while the AGF fears that the money may have been diverted into private pockets, denying the government the funding needed to carry out its activities. For so many years, we were seeing zero remittances from the NNPCL until it was, what is the word that is being used, privatized or something? And now we begin to see some money trickling into the national coffers. But this amount of money, $2.04 billion, is not child's play. It could go a long way to offset a lot of debts. It could go a long way to do some interventions and so many other things that we need in this country. So if that money disappeared into thin air, we need to know how it did that. Is there another snake that swallowed it? Another monkey carried it and ran away? Let us know where the money went to. And if we can trace it, let us get it back into the national coffers and use it for the good of the entire people. But I still saw there that SERAP is asking them to hand over the perpetrators, as it were, to ICPC. And it just struck me, just a few months ago, we heard that some ministries and agencies of government will be merged, and we still haven't seen that happen. ICPC, EFCC, and the likes were supposed to be merged together instead of duplicating some functions, which means there is no talk and do, as we say it, in the pronouncements of government. If they were supposed to be merged, how much time is it going to take for these agencies of government to come together and be merged as one, so that duplication will reduce and so many other things will reduce? We were expressing some fears that, okay, the government that is saying that they're going to merge some agencies as recommended by a report that came more than 10 years ago is making its cabinet even bigger than any other cabinet in the history of Nigeria. So will it work? And some people were saying, well, it may work. Some say it will not work. So now, who is winning? Or are we still going to give some time to see what is going to happen? Well, May 29 is around the corner. 1 year after, we'll assess the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu very, very thoroughly. For now, like Soyinka said and so many other people, we are giving it time. But May 29 is just exactly 1 month from today. Today is the 29th of April 2024. Okay, the second top trending issue that we have is drug kingpin sentenced to life for cocaine trafficking. Now, two drug kingpins, Uwazuoke Christian and Agbo Prince, have been sentenced to life imprisonment by the Federal High Court in Abuja for their years of criminal enterprise of exporting cocaine across continents. The Director of Media and Advocacy, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Femi Babafemi, announced this in a statement on Sunday. He stated that Uwazuoke was initially arrested in 2022 for ingesting cocaine wraps and was later caught again trying to smuggle drugs to India. Meanwhile, Agbo was arrested at the Abuja airport for attempting to export cocaine to Hong Kong. The statement partly read, and I quote, "For 43-year-old businessman Uwazuoke, his journey to lifetime in jail began when he was first arrested by NDLEA operatives on March 19, 2022 at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, during the inward clearance of Ethiopian Airlines flight from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, after he was found to have ingested 100 big wraps of cocaine weighing 2.243 kilograms. Babafemi added that Uwaizuoke was arrested again in August 2023 when he attempted to export 1.822 kilograms of cocaine to India under a different identity, Ilonze Kingsley Onyebuchi, at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos. He was arraigned on March 20, 2024 at the Abuja Division of the Federal High Court in a charge before the Justice Joyce Obehi Abdul Malik, where he pleaded guilty again. Despite his plea, the court, noting his lack of remorse, the seriousness of drug-related offenses, and the fact that he is a repeated offender, convicted and sentenced him to life imprisonment. 42-year-old Agbo Chidike Prince, on the other hand, was arrested at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, during the outward clearance of Ethiopian Airlines flight to Hong Kong on October 21, 2023, for ingesting 49 wraps of cocaine weighing 998.73 grams. Upon his arraignment before Justice Joyce Obehi Abdul Malik of the Federal High Court, Abuja Division, the defendant pleaded guilty to the one-count charge, where he was convicted and sentenced to life imprisonment on April 15, 2024. Now, I'm sure before it got to this end, to this point, investigations must have been done thoroughly, and he has been, or they have been taken to court, and all the things have been exhausted, and all evidences point to the fact that these people did what they did, and they are repeated offenders. Now they've been sentenced to life. And we applaud the justice system for bringing these perpetrators of evil to book. We do hope that it will also go to everybody who is doing evil in Nigeria. Let there be consequences for crimes committed. But on a lighter note, I just ask myself when I hear stories like this, how on earth do people ingest up to 49 wraps, 70-something wraps, 120 in a case I've read before, wraps of cocaine? I mean, have you considered counting the lumps of a bar that you take into your tummy, and you are so full that you cannot even drink a full glass of water anymore because it is too much for you? And people are ingesting these things that are not even soft enough. So what do they use? Do they have drug soup that they used to? Anyway, I used to think about this. It's crazy, but someone has to think about it. How do they do it? What kind of stomach do they have? What kind of desperation will push you into ingesting something that is so much bigger than the normal food that you even eat, and then you move around as if nothing has happened until the authorities get you. And then you stay on a plane that sometimes will take up to 8 hours to arrive at your destination, or even more. And you're there. You won't go to toilet, you won't do anything, you'll just keep yourself. Maybe you will not even eat before you do that, so that you don't take the position of a drug. You don't use a bar or any other thing that you're going to eat to take the position of, It's funny, but it's the truth. Ask these questions. If the energy of these thieves can be used to do something else, I think our world would be so much better. You go to a yam ban, for instance, a thief is going to carry up to 50 yams or 100 yams inside very, very big bag. Why not just go and become a weightlifter of some sort? Will it not pay you more? You get medals, you get recognition by the world if you have that much power to carry 100 yams at one go. So why not just channel it to something else? Anyway, well, the third top trending is Abuja Chinese supermarket labels products in Chinese currency. That is according to the FCCPC, that is the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. It said the Abuja-based Chinese supermarket labeled all its products in yuan, which is against the law in Nigeria and constitutes a violation of Nigerian law. The Commission added that it's still considering appropriate sanctions to be meted out against the owner of the supermarket, Liu Bei, sealed for not allowing Nigerians to shop in the facility. The acting executive vice chairman of the Commission, Adamu Abdullahi, confirmed this. He added that the owner has also been mandated to post an open to all customers notice. According to him, they discovered that all the products were labeled in yuan, and that is the only currency they accept. That is against the law in Nigeria, and the Nigerians don't sell products in foreign currency. Everything sold in Nigeria should be in its currency, and then the issue of discrimination that they only allow into the supermarket has been confirmed, and we have now instructed that she must put up, I'm quoting the words of the director himself, she must put up a notice in front of that shop that says everybody can go into the supermarket and shop. Also the issue of yuan and the display of prices. We are discussing with her to put things right. That's according to the director. Yeah. Nobody should ever have to discriminate against people of Nigeria. I mean, this is our country. Why should you sell in yuan? Why should you say some people should not go in there? But again, we're seeing a situation where, for instance, let me use the example of the ex-governor of Kogi State paying upfront school fee of the children in dollars, which means they receive money or school fees only in dollars. What has been done about that school? We've heard that they have returned the money, the dollars that was paid for the children of Yahaya Bello. That means that school receives dollars. And a lot of private schools in Nigeria receive their school fee in dollars. They are operating in Nigeria, and some of them are run by Nigerians. They collect dollars as school fees. You go to very, very big hotels in Nigeria, a lot of them collect dollars. The first currency they ask you for is dollars. Maybe if you convert that into the naira, they will accept it. But if you go to even their website, you find out that accommodation, you are given the prices for the accommodation per night in dollars. And FCCPC has not done anything about it. EFCC has not done anything about it. We're being silent. The darling currency among the circles of the rich in Nigeria is dollars. It's not naira. What happened when we're seeing primaries, APC, PDP, and other primaries? What money were they sharing during primaries? Is dollars. So dollars is the darling of the rich, and the Chinese people, you know, they brought yuan. It is wrong. It's against the law. But when it is good for the goose, it should be good for the gander. Hotels that are operating and collecting dollars should be sanctioned, and some of them may be closed down, like they've closed down the Chinese store or supermarket. Schools that are collecting fees in dollars should be closed down or sanctioned in such a way that they will stop doing this. Now we're looking for dollar to travel, to do other things abroad, and then we can't find it. Things in Nigeria, schools in Nigeria, supermarkets in Nigeria, hotels in Nigeria, some companies in Nigeria are charging dollars, and we're quiet about it. So until we tell ourselves the truth and do the needful, then we will just be, you know, doing for photo ops and telling people that we're trying our best, and when we already know that the best is not good enough. Remember the words of James Ingram, I did my best, but I guess my best wasn't good enough. We know the best of the authorities is not good enough if they are doing to one person and they are not doing to another person. So close down the schools that are charging dollars for school fees, close down the hotels that are charging dollars for accommodation, and every other institution that is charging any other currency apart from the naira within the Nigerian borders, and we will know that you're serious. So kudos to the little wins that you have had, but do more to give Nigerians the confidence that you're really working and the law is for everybody, not just a select few. Okay, that's the much we can take on Top Trending this morning. We'll take a break, look at the weather, and when we return, we'll be looking at the papers. Stay with us.
Sometimes, it's not just the distance we travel, It's the gaps we close. It's not the things we buy. It's the memories we create. Sometimes it's beyond the places we go. It's the connections we make. Not just the things we taste. It's the taste of things to come. And it's never a question of if, but when. Because life is always just a bit better with American Express. Introducing the Access Bank American Express Gold Card and the Metal Platinum Card, now available through Access Bank.
We're glad to know you're still there. It's still the Breakfast on Plus TV Africa, and right now we're going to look at the headlines on some of our national dailies, and we are being joined by Professor Sani Fage. Good morning and welcome to the program, Professor.
Good morning and thank you for having me.
Yeah. In Lagos, it is quite hot. I don't know how it is where you are right now. I hope the heat is not as bad as it is down south.
The heat is too much here, actually.
Wow. Okay. And some people are taking advantage and selling water the way they should not be sold. Selling fan. The prices for fan has gone up. The prices for AC have gone up. The price for water has gone up. And I don't know where we're going. And everybody's talking about the fact that it is dollar that has increased. That's why everything is happening the way it is. Is the cost of living a little bit better up north? Because down south, it is quite bad.
No, I think it is bad here too. I don't know if I can say perhaps it's even worse than what it is in down south, because virtually everything is counted in dollar. Even peanut or groundnut, when you want to buy it, the people will talk of dollar. So I think this dollar thing has raised the issue. And besides, is the petrol, and other things. These are the things that make things very expensive down here in the north.
Okay. We heard that the black market has a few days ago sold at 2,000 naira in a place like Sokoto, and some other states sold even more than that. And we just hope that we will find our feet as a nation and let some people breathe a sigh of relief. I'm saying some people because there are some others that are not feeling the bite that everybody else is feeling. Well, let's begin with Nature News this morning. Nature News leads with no, let me not just separately to make sure that this flooding does not have the kind of effect that it has been having all other years. Maybe the dam will not be, the water in the dam will not be released this year, I don't know. But whether or not it's released, there's going to be flooding. is there not something that the government can deliberately do to avert the disaster that might come with anticipated flooding?
Yeah, you see, NMSA, I think some 2 weeks ago, gave a warning that 30 out of 36 states in Nigeria are prone to flood this year. And as usual, the problem is we get information, we get these things, but the authorities don't do anything until when it happens, then we take a fire brigade approach. So I think there are a lot of things that the government should do, and the best way is the preventive measure. The issue of dam will just affect some few states, but we are talking of 30 out of 36. So I think we need to address this issue seriously. Part of it is global warming. Second is the fact that we don't get ready on, we don't prepare on issues until when they happen. And thirdly, if you look at it, we encroach even the rivers and other areas. We don't plan. We do things haphazardly, both the government and the people, and so that is why we are prone to this kind of challenges and problems always. And the worst part of it is that we don't seem to take a lesson. The issue of flood has been year in, year out, but virtually every year we get we are arrested, caught unprepared.
Okay, there's this story that I don't know. Let me just read it out. The headline says, firewood, charcoal smoke kill 98,000 Nigerian women annually, according to experts. I'd like your comment. Let me not say what my reservations are. I'd like your comments. 98,000 women annually.
Yeah, you see, this could have been just an estimate because actually charcoal and firewood is the main are the main source of energy to the common man. Already gas is not affordable, so we resort to that, and we risk a lot of things. So I think this also shows the problem of with our policies. The government is encouraging people not to resort to that, but at the same time, it is making alternative sources very expensive. Already, gas is not affordable to the ordinary person. Electricity is not affordable. So what do you expect? People have to eat, and as a result, they resort to charcoal and firewood, and they are exposed to such hazard. And beside the human toll, we are also putting the environment at a risk, because this charcoal, this firewood, they don't come from the blues. We have to deforest our forests in order to get it. So if you go down, you see how forests are being.
We seem to have lost the audio from Professor Sage. We do hope that he can rejoin us as soon as possible. We were talking about the fact that the government is, I don't know where the data came from, but they say 98,000 women die of smoke every year. Okay, Professor, you were saying we lost your audio at some point. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, what I was saying is that this issue may be just an estimate. Perhaps if real statistics are taken, it will be higher than that. And what it shows is it shows the failure of policies. You see, the government is encouraging people not to resort to firewood and charcoal. But at the same time, the alternative sources of energy are so expensive, are beyond the reach of the ordinary person. Okay, we are talking of gas. We are talking of electricity. These are all things that will minimize or eliminate that hazard of smoke and other dangerous things, but they are beyond the reach of the ordinary person. So that is why people resort to it. And like I said, beside the human toll, this also has effect on the environment. We are talking of global warming, but at the same time, people have to resort to cutting down trees and forests in order to survive. So I think this is what the government needs to address seriously.
Yeah, people cut down trees to do furniture, to do a lot of other things, and we're talking about climate change and the need to plant more trees and all that. Ajaokuta Steel Complex is not working, so anything that we could have had alternative in steel, we still go back to wood because that's the only thing that we have. And then people are using wood to cook and do other things and even iron their clothes because no light or no power, and then gas, like you said, is very expensive. But the other thing, the other headline again on Nature News is almost related to that. Why Meruwa thrives in Nigeria's major cities. And the writers on that story or that headline are, water vendors pose health hazard. NAFDAC task on hygiene enforcement. Okay, so, Meruwa in every city, even the estates that do not allow Okada in, they do not allow tricycles in, they don't allow anybody just to go inside, you'll still find Meruwa moving around hawking water, selling water to people because water is not available. But now NAFDAC is saying everybody should enforce hygiene and then that the water vendors pose a health hazard. I don't know what your comment is on that.
Yeah, it's true they pose the danger, but this one too is part of our problem. This is 64 years after our independence. We cannot afford potable water. If you look at it, the irony of it is that you go to some government houses, where you have the governor. If you stay there, you see a truck of water going inside the government house, which means even the government houses don't have it. And the other thing is, if you are to take a simple statistics from the government house in any place, go around on a radius of about 30 kilometers or so, you'll go to places where there is no tap water, no running water, and so on. So people have to drink water. So that is why the Meruwa systems thrive, because people have to drink water. And the thing is that there is no hygiene there. So we are lucky we don't have, waterborne diseases, epidemic of it, but we shouldn't be always counting on luck. We have to do something about it. So there is this danger of diseases. NAFDAC said it, but people cannot abide by that because, like I say, they have to survive. So I think the issue is less the issue of water be a thing of the past. After all, 64 years of independence is not a small time, and that is why you see any year that we have campaign, you see leaders campaigning that you vote me, I'm going to provide water for you. Countries that are far smaller than us, that are poorer than us, the issue of pipeborne water is a forgone history, but we are still grappling with it. So I think this is failure, an indication also of the failure of our system.
It really is a failure. I was seeing photographs in some years past where pipe-borne water was being commissioned in some communities as soon as we had our independence. In the 60s, we had some communities that had pipe-borne water. Now, there's no community with pipe-borne water. Maybe a few estates here and there would have pipe-borne water, but we don't have them anymore. I don't know why Nigeria seems to be growing backwards instead of forwards. Things that we should not even be counting as things to campaign with. We are now using them to campaign. Good road, which should have been a given that once you enter there, you'll do it. Schools that should have been built, water that should have been provided, and every other thing. We are now using them as campaign. I just don't know why we're growing backwards, because that's the opinion of a lot of people, that we may be growing backwards instead of forwards. Okay. Let's go over to the Business NG. That's the next newspaper that we are going to look at. The biggest headline here is Tinubu's financial shakeup, praise, skepticism's echo across Nigeria. Where do you stand? In praise or you're skeptical? Prof, can you hear me? Okay, we've lost the audio of Professor Sage once again. We're hoping he will rejoin us. In the meantime, let me just take the headlines on the Business NG until he's able to reconnect. Inflation war. CBN prioritizes inflation over employment, or unemployment, sorry. Nigeria's dollar bonds hit 4-month high. Investors demand higher returns. The headline we were on to before we lost the audio of Professor was Tinubu's financial shakeup, praise, skepticism's echo across Nigeria. And I was asking the professor where he stood. Was he skeptical or was he full of praise of the Tinubu financial shakeup? We also have... Okay, Prof, glad to have you back. We lost your audio again.
Oh, yes.
So
yes,
where do you stand?
Challenges. Actually, I have a mixed feeling. There are areas that I have raised, like, the issue of the central bank, establishing a leadership, checking the system. That is a very good thing that people have to welcome it. But actually, where I am skeptical and where I am opposed even to it is the issue of this naira, the valuation and other things, and also the issue of subsidy removal. I have been very much opposed to that because what I believe is that the government or government anywhere is not a business enterprise. Its central concern should...
Hello, Prof. Oh, okay. I don't know what's going on. The networks seem to be acting up this morning. We hope Professor can join us again. Okay, Prof, I don't know what is happening to the network. Is it angry with you?
I guess it is. The network is bad today.
Oh, okay. Now, in answering the question that you were answering, I'd like you to add this headline to it, because when the question was, are you on the side of praise or on the side of skepticism, and you were saying you had mixed feeling. We have this headline which is saying CBN loans federal government 3.8 trillion naira in 6 months. Borrowing spree continues. We remember when the CBN governor came on board, he said, no more, okay, let me use the words of the president for this. Borrowing the federal government, CBN borrowing the federal government money gone. Now we have seen 3.8 trillion naira in just 6 months. The CBN has borrowed the federal government, or it has loaned the federal government, that's the correct word to use, it has loaned the federal government 3.8 trillion naira in 6 months. So I don't know really what the difference is, or after 1 year, what we'll be expecting from this central bank, which in some regards you're having praise for.
Yeah, no, I said the shape, the shake-up in the central bank is what I'm praising. But you see, the back and forth in terms of policies is what I'm very skeptical, and in fact, I'm against that. You see, the people, we Nigerians are told that the issue of ways and means is gone forever. And now we are just changing the name. Within 6 months, we had this 6-point-something trillion that you have said. And if care is not taken by the end of the year or by the end of the term of the government will be much deeper in this debt. What initially when the government said they are doing away with it, people welcome it. And now they have turned around and they are taking it back again. So this is one of the reasons for the skepticism in terms of the economic policies of the president. Back and forth is one thing. Today we say something, tomorrow we roll it back and go back. Secondly, and most importantly, is if you look at all these things, it seems we are doing things haphazardly. There is no concrete plan that we are in point A today. We want to go to point B, and this is our roadmap, how we're going to do it. So this is why I am also part of those who are skeptical about, the economic policies.
Okay. Now, inflation war is still on the CBN. Inflation war, CBN prioritizes inflation over unemployment. I don't know in this report in this situation, which is the cat and which is the horse. They are prioritizing inflation and sort of neglecting unemployment. Some people will think unemployment should take the front burner while inflation takes a backstage and all that. So we don't know. What is your comment? CBN, for them, their priority is inflation.
You see, this is a classical neoliberal recipe. You know, what the neoliberalism said is that inflation is more dangerous than, unemployment. So that is why their argument is the more inflation you have, the more unemployment you are going to have, because people will now ask for more raise, like what you are seeing now, and then the industries and other sectors could not cope up, so they have to retrench the people. So to them, inflation is the horse, which should come before the cat, which is unemployment. But to the Keynesianists, it is the other way around, that it is unemployment that will cause all the problems. So I think here, what we need to do is not look at whether this causes this or this causes this, but rather let's face what is the cause of the problem, what is the cause of inflation in Nigeria. The way we are going, borrowing, borrowing, deregulation, and opening our market business will only increase inflation, as we have seen. Within the last 9 months or so, from May 29th to maybe 11 months since we took these two measures, we have seen inflation skyrocketing to a point that we have never seen it in the history of Nigeria. So I think this should have told our policymakers that the problem is inflation is just a symptom of the problem. The real cause of the problem are the policies that we are taking, and that is why we have inflation, and that is why we are going to have unemployment, and that is why we'll continue to go down deeper and deeper. So unless we address these issues that the IMF is pushing down our throat, we are not going to go anywhere. Palliatives will not solve it. Panic address will not solve it, and all other measures that we are taking will not solve it. What we need is a concrete plan to get out of this debt trap that we have put ourselves into. And unless we do that, we'll still be going deeper and deeper into the problem.
Let's go to the Guardian newspaper and still take another story about the CBN. This seemed to be the reigning headline today. FX rates, that's the Guardian newspaper now. FX rates harmonization. CBN abandons unification policy, reintroduces discriminatory rates. They came up with this unification policy. Now they have gone back to old ways. It's same old, same old. The same CBN that came with blazing guns in both hands are now going back to the same policies that they condemned and said they had jettisoned and are now giving us a new one. Now the unification policy is gone and they have reintroduced discriminatory rates according to this report here.
This is what I told you just a little while ago, that one of the source of apprehension is the back and forth. Today you say you are going to do something, and tomorrow you now change it to another thing. You know, initially when they say they are going to have a unified rate, people welcome it. And now they are changing it. Even in some places they are talking of, one of the reasons of this arbitrage is the discriminatory or the differential value of this thing. And now they are coming back to it. So I think this haphazard way, like I said it, I will repeat myself, this haphazard way of doing things is a fire brigade approach, and it will not solve the problem. By the time you do something and tomorrow you come and change it, next tomorrow you go back to it, will always.
Okay, we'll still just manage the network as it is, Professor. We're waiting on this end, hoping that you will rejoin us. There are other headlines on the Guardian newspaper that I'd just like to bring to your attention. Presidential fleet gobs $8 million in 2 years amid safety concerns. We also have Lamido slams northern governors over security meeting in U.S. PDP divided as Obi group rejects Ighodalo, and APC kicks as PDP wins all seats in Oyo local government area polls. We have those stories on the Guardian newspaper. We're hoping Professor will join us to give his thoughts on those headlines. Meanwhile, we'll move to the Punch newspaper and just take some other headlines. On the Punch newspaper, the biggest headline here is petrol scarcity. Fuel crisis worsens as depots divert PMS to Abuja. NNPC rations supply to depots. Orders operators to prioritize loading to Abuja. Queues spread in Lagos. Ogun orders station raise pump price as black market thrives. Removing fuel subsidies saved Nigeria from bankruptcy. That is according to Tinubu. Naira rebounds to 1,275 naira per dollar at the parallel market. Then we have smaller headlines there. Rivers explosion. FRSC blames drivers as president, governors mourn victims. Abiodun orders residents evacuation after Ogun gas explosion. Okay, Prof, you're back with us now, thank God. Yes. Okay, let's move to another headline. We have talked about the CBN, and you expressed disappointment in the back and forth and all that. Now, the northern governors had security meeting in U.S. Lamido slams northern governors over security meeting in U.S. That can be seen in page 9 of the Guardian newspaper. What are your thoughts?
I think actually going to U.S. On a security issue is uncalled for, is insensitive on the situation. After all, we have the crisis here in the north on ground. Why should you go to U.S. and try to solve it there? You know, it's a waste of resources. And like I said, it's insensitive to the feelings of Nigerians, and especially we here in the north, where we are feeling the brunt of this insecurity. And yet you take huge resources, taxpayers' resources, and go there and do nothing. And the end of it, nothing will happen except for the waste of our resource. Now, if they are serious in addressing the issue, they should have addressed it here. We have experts, we have the thing on ground, and it has been persistent in so many places. If you take, for example, Borno and Northeast, is now over 15 years that they are having this problem. The Northwest here, we are having it for 9 years, and yet you just go to U.S. and say this is where you are going to address it. I actually agree with lining to 100%, even if not 110%, because, like I said, this is insensitive and in fact, lack of concern to the actual situation, where people are more concerned with what they will get out of it rather than to address the actual problem, to sit down and address it.
Okay. Now, there is this headline as well, which is saying presidential fleet gulps $8 million in 2 years amid safety concerns. In 2 years, that means part of this is the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, former President Muhammadu Buhari, who promised that the presidential fleet was going to be cut down because he didn't have any need for it. And also, we also have this government that came up and said they were going to cut cost of governance and all that. And the presidential fleet is still on. And even there are safety concerns. There was a rumor at some point that our president had to take a commercial flight to a particular place because the flights or the planes broke down, the jets broke down. So we don't know what is really happening. $8 billion, or $8 million rather, not billion, $8 million in 2 years. That's concerning for me.
Yeah, you see, when you convert that $8 million to Naira, at the current rate, it is going to be how many billions that are being wasted on the issue. Now, yes, it's true. Part of the 2 years is 1 year is that of former president, and 1 year is for this president. So, one, we were hoping when the former government, the former president said they are going to cut the presidential fleet and put it into Nigerian Airways, and this never happened. And now we also were hoping initially when this government came out and said they are going to cut the cost of governance, and we are seeing nothing that happened. So this is, highly disappointing to Nigerians. And above all, as you alluded to it, I say it was last week when they were having something in some of the Arab countries. 2 of the flights could not even operate. So the president had to take a commercial flight to attend the meeting. So which means it's a double jeopardy. We spent $8 million on the flight, and yet they have not served the purpose. We have to take commercial flight to do it. And the other thing is, how secure are they? They are too dangerous. If you look at other climes who are more, developed than us, they don't have even a single plate in their presidential thing. Take, for example, UK. The Prime Minister doesn't have a flight. You go to somewhere, they don't have it. But here we are, we have how many they talk, some will say 8, some will say more than 8. Whatever it is, it's a waste. It's part of the cost of governance. It's part of, the insensitivity of our leaders to the ordinary person. An ordinary person in Nigeria, they say over 63% of Nigeria cannot afford 3 square meals, and you are spending such a huge amount of money on presidential fleet, and they are not serving the purpose. So I think something has to be done. Our democracy should be working for the people, not for the elite.
Okay, let's move to the Punch newspaper and take 2 headlines at once. Petrol scarcity, fuel crisis worsens as Abuja depots divert PMS to Abuja. The riders, NNPC rations supply to depots, orders operators to prioritize loading to Abuja. Queues spread in Lagos, Ogun, others. Stations raise pump price as black market thrives. The second headline, still on fuel, is removing fuel subsidy saved Nigeria from bankruptcy. Tinubu. In whatever order you want to comment, please go ahead.
Okay, let me take as you give me, the fuel crisis that hits Nigeria. You see, it is all over. Like here in Kano now, some filling stations are selling it about 800 and 850. And if you go to the black market, it's 1,000 plus. If you go to Sokoto, one of the newspaper carry it in a black market, it costs about 2,000 naira per liter. So I think this shows the extent, the magnitude of the problem. And many people are sleeping in the filling station, the few filling station that are dispensing oil or are selling fuel. You spend the whole day, the whole night there, and you end up getting it at about 850 naira. So I think this is a very serious problem, and it's also a very serious problem that NNPC is diverting it to Abuja, as if Abuja is the only place where it's only Nigeria, while other places are having these challenges. So I think this is a very serious problem. The other thing is, when the president was telling the world that removing subsidy and the Naira bag will save Nigeria from bankrupt. This is what I've said earlier on. Government is not a business enterprise. The goal of government should be the welfare and security of Nigerians. With the removal of subsidy, quite okay, let's say it's true that they have saved the government from bankrupt. But how many Nigerians have been put into poverty? So I think this is what our leaders should tell themselves, that they are elected by Nigerians, and it is a democratic government. The Nigerians were hopeful that their condition will be better off, and yet the government is counting how much it has saved. Look at the issue of poverty is on the increase, hunger is on the increase, insecurity is on the increase, inflation is on the increase, unemployment is on the increase, and yet we are beating our chest and saying that we have saved money which will have saved the country from bankrupt. We haven't seen, or we are denying the time bomb that we are building with this kind of policy.
Okay, well, just in 1 minute, if we can, Naira rebounds to 1,275 Naira to $1 at the parallel market. We don't know about the official market, but this story is about the parallel market, 1,002. At some point, it got to 1,004 even. It went back to 1,004. Was it on Friday or something like that? Now it's 1,002, and they're saying Naira has rebounded. Okay, everything is going to be all right. What do you feel? Very fast before we wrap up.
I feel so bad about it. To me, Naira should not have been more than what the government, inherited it. That was around 700 or something. By the time it reached more than 1,000, I think that doesn't show anything positive. Rather, we are just seeing what we believe is right. But to us, I think it's a very wrong thing that Naira appreciate to 1,200 Naira.
Okay. Well, that's the much we can take on Off the Press this morning. We'd like to thank you, Prof, for coming on the show and sharing your thoughts.
Thank you. Despite the interruption, thank you very much.
It is well, let me not say it's a Nigerian thing, but we'll quite understand. And we've been talking with Professor Kamilu Sani Fage, Department of Political Science, Bayero University in Kano, on Off the Press this morning. We're going to take a short break, and when we return, we're going to be talking with our guest on the first hot topic. Stay with us.
Picture this. You're sitting at a table, ready to indulge in a mouth-watering meal. Stop. For many of us, it is hard to resist the temptation, especially when it comes to enjoying a juicy beef dish. But have you ever stopped to think about the impact of your food choices on the greater good? Our food choices have a great impact on others. The beef industry is one of the leading contributors to deforestation. As trees are cleared to make way for cattle ranching, it not only disrupts the delicate balance of ecosystems, but also contributes to climate change. We can make a difference with our choices. It does not mean we all have to become vegans overnight. Imagine enjoying fish and poultry a few times a week, indulging in beef just once a month, are filling our plates with plenty of plant-based goodness. Every little bit counts. And even small reductions in our intake can make a huge impact on the climate. By making smarter food choices, we're not only taking care of ourselves, but also the planet we call home. Remember, the choices we make today lead to a better tomorrow.
I will take you through this amazing lesson today.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Buki November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Thanks for staying with us. We're now taking our first hot topic, and that is that fuel subsidy removal is essential for Nigeria's economic reset. That's according to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Our guest this morning is Mukhtar Mohammed, international finance and economic analyst, talking to us from Lagos State this morning. Good morning and welcome to the program, Mukhtar.
Thank you for having me.
Our economic reset, fuel subsidy removal, the common man does not even understand why that is so important, especially given the realities on ground. Help us walk through this statement of the president, what your feeling is about what he said and what the real economic realities are, if you measure that with the statement that he made.
Well, thank you again. I think the president is trying to justify the removal of subsidy, which he has done since May 29. Again, I was an advocate for removal of subsidy. I've always thought that the petroleum subsidy was a scam. I was doing Nigerian economy no good. But I always thought that in removal of subsidy in the consumption sector of the petroleum sector, government should be subsidizing some area of Nigerian life, knowing that our life evolves around petrol. So I think what he's trying to justify it was a tough decision. But again, when he said Nigeria was going broke, we are already aware of that. When the former president said, President Buhari said subsidy was going to stop in June, but he abruptly stopped it in May without making plans. And up to this moment, I don't think any concrete plan has been put to alleviate the sufferings of Nigeria. Because what we've seen thus far about the removal of subsidy, we've seen the 3 tiers of government earning so much, but the people's life have gone from even worse to worse by the day. And so I think the removal of subsidy was a good policy in trying to unlock investment in the petroleum sector, but up to this moment, we've not seen those investments. Rather, we are seeing a lot of companies trying to sell off their offshore property and leave Nigeria because of the insecurity. Removal of subsidy was supposed to create jobs. Rather, what we've seen as removal of subsidy has created more unemployment. Removal of subsidy was supposed to boost our reserves, so we bring a level playing field for everybody to begin to import petroleum products into the country and create competitiveness within, but up to this moment, NNPC still remains the sole importer of petroleum product. Removal of subsidy also was supposed to stabilize our currency, whereby government is not spending so much in importing refined petroleum product, allowing private players to do that. But we've seen that has not helped. Rather, it has depreciated our reserve and our exchange rate has gone higher. Removal of subsidy was also supposed to be one of the key drivers of the power sector, because when you say remove subsidy, I mean the gas and others. But rather, we've seen power gone really, really bad. So when you look at that, by and by, what the president is saying, he has taken the hard decision, which was nice, but the effect on the people was not alleviated, because again, there are a lot of things they were supposed to do that they didn't do. We're talking about if you remove subsidy, you begin to talk of living wages. If you remove subsidy, we are not supposed to see infrastructural development. We're supposed to see that power will come in so that we know that we are no more buying diesel or generators or buying diesels. Rather, we have power, constant power. We only buy fuel for our cars and diesels for our cars, but it's still the same effect. So if you look at that by and by what the president has said, so the people removal of subsidy has not brought the needed change that he promised us, but removal of subsidy has brought more money to the coffers of government, both the treaty of government, but they've not seen the impact on the people. So that's what I think. If you say government have had more money, definitely removal of subsidy has done that, but to the people, they are more impoverished than where they were in May 29 when he came into power.
Okay, two questions. Let me just start with the first one. There is always this talk about the fact that the government is subsidizing fuel, but they're not telling the people and all that. How do you marry this? Fuel subsidy has been removed. The reality on ground is that there's some form of subsidy going there, but the government is not telling us. Which part do you stand? Do you think the government is really subsidizing it, and why are they not telling us?
Well, I think the government is subsidizing it, and they are not telling us. NNPC is the one that are the ones suffering that bunch, and unfortunately, they are a private limited company. So, in their earnings report, detailed report, very soon we'll see the truth of that. So, the government can no more hide it from them. Because why people are saying government are subsidizing, at the time of the removal of subsidy, the price of crude petroleum oil was about, I think, $78 per barrel. But as I'm talking now, it has gone to as high as $85. So when you look at that, you are supposed to say, okay, the removal of subsidy, that means the price of refined petroleum product will keep on oscillating because the price of crude oil have not been steady since the removal of subsidy. I think that's why people are saying, look, subsidy has gone. And then when you look at our own case, we still are importing refined petroleum product up to this moment, because most talk about Dangote refinery and Port Harcourt refinery have not started production or where they are in their testing stage. So they've not started bringing those products into the market. So what it means is that we are importing a lot of this refined petroleum product. Then the challenge was that when you import this product, you are not importing them in the Naira, you are importing them with dollars. And what it means that the exchange rates also make these things go higher, because at the time government removed subsidy, exchange rate was about 450. That is where the official was still standing at 370, and that was used for the official rate in terms of importing petroleum product to the country. But as it stands now, the exchange rate, you and I know, that has gone very high. At a point, it was doing 1,600 officially and 1,800 in the parallel market. So when you look that, you'll be forced to marry the two together and says that definitely government is paying subsidy in one way or the other, either through the price of petroleum products not being steady in price for this thus far, or the exchange rate has also brought a little bit of subsidy payment there.
Is it a matter of pride or something why they're not telling us? Because I thought maybe this would make them look good and say, okay, even if we stopped it, we're still doing some interventions in it, and the people will say, okay, you're trying for us. But why is it so hard in coming out plain to tell us that, yes, we are giving some form of subsidy, and they keep denying it?
Well, because, again, you saw the hula baloo that happens with the removal of subsidy, the life of the ordinary Nigeria, and then you're coming back and telling them you are paying subsidy again, and their life has not improved. I think the government is looking at what the effect will be like. But I think, again, in the larger picture, the government is not paying the kind of subsidy also they would have been paying if this subsidy was not removed. Yeah, no matter what people try to say, whether government is paying more higher. So I think they are not going to be paying the kind of subsidy if subsidy was not removed. That is one. And I think their major challenge in their own is the exchange rate. So if they peg it at the official rate, maybe the subsidy payment also will not be that much. So I think, and government knows that at this moment you cannot increase petroleum price because the people have not even felt the impact of your recent increment. It has not brought anything meaningful to the economy. So I think government is just trying to not come out clear on this, and then they will tell you that they are hands off, they are deregulated. So now the sole the people they should talk to is NNPC, and NNPC will come out and say, look, we are not paying subsidy. In one hand, they are saying we are not paying subsidy. In the other hand, the marketer, those people that load from NNPC, those people that should know better are saying NNPC is subsidizing fuel in one way or the other. So maybe Malam Nasir El-Rufai, the former governor of Kaduna State, said that they are even subsidizing fuel more than what they made before. And you may agree with him somehow because of the exchange rate, not only because of the price of the product, but because of the exchange rate. You may agree with him, but I think somehow we are paying subsidy, but the government is being careful because that means your policy is more or less like a policy somersault and that's it. And I think why the government also is not coming out clearly on that is because they believe that before the end of May, I think Dangote refinery will start production, Port Harcourt refinery will come on stream. So that will be an end to subsidy payment, importing of refined petroleum products into the country. I'm even thinking that that might be the cause of the recent scarcity that we are seeing because government is beginning to look that we will soon start production. So let's ration what we have so that we don't have to import. We don't even have the resources. So since Dangote will come on stream and then the Port Harcourt refinery will come on stream, I think that's what I think is happening now that you are seeing those fuel scarcity in Abuja and some parts of Lagos and Ogun State. So definitely in the long run, subsidy has gone, subsidy will be gone. I'm sure it will not stay subsidy. No matter how small they are paying it, by the end of May, I think subsidy will definitely become history. You can see that in diesel. Diesel at the point was as high as 1,500. Today, diesel is selling for as low as 1,100. In MRS police station, you get it for 1,050 naira. So, and this is because Dangote finally came to the market with diesel. So, I expect that with the government also coming up with strategy that they can buy crude with naira, that also could be a game changer. We will see what the government think they have lost in one hand in terms of payment of crude, refined petroleum product. They might be gaining in the other hand, and maybe that is why they are not saying anything yet.
Well, I don't know, but as a person, I think it's a big shame that a government will be hanging their hopes on the market strategy, the largesse of a personal businessman, a private businessman like Dangote. You know, if he reduces the price.
I tend to disagree when we say that because I always think that it's not in the business of government to be in business. Every economic in the world, there's no government that is involved in the key driver of the economic business. Government is only supposed to come up with regulatory framework to make sure those businesses are not detriment to their people.
So what's their business in doing, in having a refinery that does not work? Why not just give it out to people who are private businesses and then have competition in the market? Because this is more or less like a one-man business and he can do whatever he wants.
Well, when you talk about the refinery is not working, but I want you to know that NNPC is not NNPC Nigeria Limited. So of recent, they signed an agreement with a private firm to make sure that they produce 100,000 barrels of refined petroleum product. So it's not going to be only Dangote alone. Remember that we have modular refineries. We also have Bua refinery coming on stream in Akwa Ibom State. So it could always start with one. You just look at the telecom sector. At a point, it was only MTN and then V-Mobile. And at a point, they were telling us that, look, you know what, you can't do, we can't do per second billing because it's not, we don't have the equipment, it's not possible. And when Glo came in and said, no, we are going to be doing per second billing, and people begin to doubt, immediately within 48 hours, they all switch back to per second billing. So the first player always seems to be the one that have the market. And then when the second player comes with something different, the market dynamics change. So I think that might just be what will happen when other refinery comes in steam. But like government, remember that these refineries were actually meant to be sold before now. And President Obasanjo did it and sold it to them. They call the company then was Blue Chip, formed by the current man that have Dangote, Aliko Dangote and his friend Femi Otedola. Remember that immediately Yar'Adua came to power, that revoked that because of the pressure from the Nigerian Labour Congress. from Nupen, from Pengensin, that it's not yet time to give them those refineries, that those refineries can be turned around by government. They sold it for them at a crap. But up till now, those refineries have not worked. Rather, we kept on doing turnaround maintenance, that those money could have been used to build new refineries or build up to 15 modular refineries. So I think what I keep saying is that Dangote took the bull by the horn. He got the support of government. I won't say that he didn't get it. He got the support of government, and today he's there. So other also will get that same support. Boy is getting that same support. It might not be in the area of exchange rate, but at least it's getting those support from government in other areas. So we must just give them the kudos, and I know that private refineries are meant to be run, especially businesses are meant to be run by businessmen, and government is supposed to come up with the enabling environment. Look, we are complaining about power now, and we say, no, the generation, distribution, generation. The day we give generation to private sector, you see that they most talk about 10,000 megawatts will come on stream within 2 to 3 years. But once you leave it in the hands of government, there seems to be a lot of bureaucracy. So that's why anywhere in the world, key drivers of the economics are always in the hand of the federal of the private sector. But they make sure the federal the government has the one driving in terms of policies, regulation, and others to make sure that.
But do we have that kind of? Do we have those kind of policies that will regulate these people and force them to do the right thing by the people? Because when you look at, okay, let's take an example. The outcry of Nigerians right now is on DSTV, for instance. DSTV just comes up and gives you rates that are crazy. DSTV Go TV price hikes sparks calls for regulatory action. That is one of the headlines on one of our newspapers this morning, Business NG. And people are looking for alternatives and all that. And it happens, even the service providers that you've mentioned, MTN, V-Mobile, and Glo and all that, they're asking for permission to still hike their tariffs. Okay, we saw a situation where the airlines going to London, for instance, were charging up to 3 million naira for a flight to London. And when Airpeace came and reduced the price, they came down, some of them even lower than Airpeace, which means they had the capacity to do this, but they didn't do it until they waited for competition. Is it a product of no regulation or good policies, or is it that it's just a free-for-all economy and anybody can do whatever he wants to do?
Capitalism is free for all. That's number one. If you want to practice capitalism, it's free for all. Then, but when you look at the airline industry, and what some of these said, I will go into them maybe so to make you know that to let you know they are very different. In the airline industry, the challenge we have was the exchange rate. That was one. A lot of these airlines' monies were not being paid. Their money was stopped here, and so what they did was they didn't open the cheap ticket for Nigerians. But immediately Airpeace came, and remember that government also have paid some of those airlines outstanding, and then Airpeace came, competition came, and that's why we talk about competition. And all of a sudden, they brought down their price. Even Airpeace themselves started complaining that those prices have been brought down, and they are trying to make Nigerians not patronize Airpeace any longer. So you could see that's what competition brings to the market. So regulators will always come up. But when you're a regulator, and I tell you my challenges in terms of operational challenges, you can't force me to begin to make losses. And that was what happened. That was why an airline like Emirates said, look, we can't continue to make losses in Nigeria because we can't repatriate our money back, so we'd rather not come again. So that's for the airline. For DSTV, again, there's competitors on DSTV, so it's based on how competitive have they been with the competitors. That they have swallowed the market maybe because of their content. Now it's all about content. And if you listen to the government is in charge of generation in terms of power. And the government themselves have increased power due to exchange rate, cost of energy, gas, and others. So some things apply to some of these businesses too. So you can't be doing one rule for another and then doing one rule for the other. So their own costs also have gone up. So naturally, they also will increase their cost of that. So it's about regulation. And the fact is, I think regulation is for them to make sure that what we are paid for are what we get. in terms of quality. We have Standard Organization of Nigeria, we have Consumer Protection Agency. Then for the petroleum sector, you have the former DPR. They are there to regulate, to make sure that fuels PMS are sold, diesel are sold, and so sometimes, like I always say, the problem is not we don't have regulators to come in there. The problem is that those regulators seem to not have a structure to work. So when a strong man comes in, you see those regulators begin to work very well. You saw it in NAFTA when we have the late Dora Akinwumi. They were everywhere. The regulation was tough, but after she left, we were back to status quo. You are seeing that in NDLE, and you begin to ask yourself, all the years, what has been happening to all these drop kings? It's not that they just came up when Buba Marwa took over. So the problem we have in Nigeria is that we don't build strong institutions. We rather build strong men. So tomorrow, if we have somebody, the Consumer Protection Agency, that is out there doing the right thing, you will see that most of the companies that are busy charging Nigerians will change. So what is there is that we should learn how to make sure that we have structure, that we have regulations that are moved by structure and rule of law, justice. So once you have that, then you will not need to have a strong man to make things happen. So the challenge here is we don't have the structure. We rather build strong men. And when strong men are gone, we are back to status quo.
Yeah, well, when you were talking about regulation, I was just thinking about the FCCPC, the consumer protection that you mentioned also, that has sealed the Chinese supermarket that was selling in yuan and preventing Nigerians from buying. And I was asking myself, if it is such a criminal to sell things in foreign currency, why are the schools that are charging dollars not being closed? Why are hotels that are charging in dollars not being closed? Why are every other institution or all the other institutions that are charging in dollars within Nigeria not being closed, even though they are allowing Nigerians to do business with them? But the first currency is the dollar, and they're not doing anything about it, which means, are they partial? It's just a question I'm asking myself. I don't know.
Like I said, rule of law. When there's no justice, some people get away with it. I think for me, it's you talk about the Chinese. It's not that the Consumer Protection Agency were not aware of them until a newspaper, I think one of the media house, came up and made that noise, and then it went on social media. And that was when the government responded and went there and be sealing this. So it's not something that they start today or something they started yesterday or something they just start. You're talking about school fees. You don't even have to go far. Even the case of the governor of Kogi State that have to pay upfront of school fees, and yet nobody is reprimanding the school for even collecting dollars. So what are the other people in that school paying? Are they still paying dollars? Are the federal school paying dollars too? What have you done to sanction those schools? Some of the visa collection agencies where Nigerians apply for visas are also doing the same thing. They tell Nigerians to pay in their currency. Some of them collect pounds, some of them collect dollars for them to have. Nobody is doing anything about it. And these are not things that they are not involved. Some of these elites do not go and pay. They pay those money because they easily get it. So I think it's all about when they decide, when tomorrow, if News Central carried a report on agencies that are busy collecting dollars instead of naira, then the government will clamp down on them tomorrow, then the next day. But once nobody's talking about it, they turn a blind eye to whatever they are doing.
Okay, the second question, earlier on I said I had two questions. The second question is this. A country, I think it's Kenya, removed fuel subsidy, and then they found out that, removed some kind of subsidy, I don't know if it is oil, but they found out that the policy was detrimental to the people, so they brought it back in humility. So will it be such a bad thing if we reconsidered, having a systemic subsidy, so to speak, in Nigeria instead of the total removal? After all, now we seem to have the data. If they were using a humongous data that did not exist, now we seem to have the data, which will enable us know for a fact what we are paying for. Will it be such a bad thing to reverse this fuel subsidy removal?
I can assure you, if by tomorrow they say subsidy is being paid, the data of terms of fuel consumption will go up, because then they will tell you that some people before now are not used to go out with their cars because they were paying from their pockets. So since government started paying, they started having their 2 or 3 cars. You know the way sometimes in this country, some ministers will come up like, even if he has apologized, the Minister of Power coming to say that the reason why Nigerians are paying so much for power is because they leave their refrigerator and their AC on when they are out of their houses. So sometimes when you now begin to hear some statement why subsidy must not be removed, has been removed, and why the volume has gone up since subsidy removed, you begin to ask yourself, what are we doing now? The Kenya experience, you see, what Kenya did was to remove subsidy in diesel, because those are what the industries they normally use. So to bring down the cost of their goods and services. Well, unfortunately, that did not work out well. The cost of goods was still going up because most of the industry in Kenya, was not able to produce enough for the Kenyan people. So, most of what the Kenyan people normally we consume in their households were being imported. And so government looked at it, okay, you know what? We need to take a cut on this. This is not working. So we'll take up tariff from imported products that comes in outside the shore of Kenya to this to Kenya that we know most of our household normally make use. So they took a bite of their revenue, and that helped them bring down inflation. It was not just the removal of subsidy that was the challenge. It's just the same thing that's happening in Nigeria. You remove subsidy, but most of the companies are using diesels. So how does that help? That would still mean cost of goods and services. When diesel went up, cost of goods and services went up. So Kenya removed this in diesel. But they realized that, you know what, this is not working. So they brought back the subsidy, still in diesel, but in petroleum, they made sure that they were not paying us, so they were looking at the productive sector. So now that we are telling people to bring goods into our country, if we do not pay subsidy on diesel for our industries, that means we'll finally kill our industries. So it's going to be a win-win situation. We'll go back to pay this subsidy on diesel for our industry, and also let other people import these goods. And that brought down inflation. Competition came in. So that is one. But when you look at the Nigerian case now, inflation keeps going high, and people keep trying to do the wrong thing, saying this is the challenge. The challenge for inflation has been that exchange rate has gone high. The challenge for inflation has been that port rate is high. Even when the Naira was coming down, exchange rate in terms of when you bring goods and services were still going up. So how do you marry that together to make sure that goods and services will come down? So it's more or less that if you want to see a policy, like you said, anywhere the government must pay subsidy in one thing or the other. In the UK, government pays subsidy in energy. In the US, government pays subsidy in terms of public transport. So there's nowhere in the world that government does not pay subsidy for one thing or the other. It's only in Nigeria that government complain of paying subsidy for the people, even when they are not even paying total subsidy for the people, because a lot of subsidy in Nigeria is marred by corruption. So until we get those data right, because in these developed countries, those data are right. They know the number of poor people by their income. They have the data. They know where the poor people live. They know how to subsidize for the poor. They know where the poor people normally go to work, where they stay. So transportation in those areas are subsidized. Education in those areas are subsidized. Infrastructure in those areas are subsidized. Even tax payment in some areas are subsidized because of the type of people that lives there. Because they have all this data. But here, we tend to copy and paste, but we forget that structures was what made whatever policy they are bringing work, because there's a structure. So I think the most thing that we need to do more in Nigeria is we need to have a structural reform, whereby we begin to look at data, using data as a means to drive our economy, to know those that are very poor, those that are middle class, and those that are very rich, not by the amount of money you have in your bank account. It's only in Nigeria you do that.
I don't know. I don't know the problem with data. Data in Nigeria seems to be a cash cow. You use data to your advantage, you know. You go to a particular place where there are 5 people and you're doing a census and you're having 100 people. It's just like the Liberian election that entered the Guinness Book of Records, where people the people that were up to about, is it 11,000? They did an election and the winner got like 250,000 votes for a country whose eligible voters were like 11,000 or something. I don't know. Data is being manipulated in Nigeria, and I don't know when we will get to that position where we can get true data that will talk to us about what is happening. Today on the papers we just saw that 98,000 women die annually out of because of smoke from firewood. And I was just laughing like, okay, well, that may or may not be true, but where did they get the data from? Now, the question is, why is it such a challenge in Nigeria to get the correct data? Because I know we don't have it. Even if we have it, we don't use it. So why is it such a challenge?
Because people don't trust the government. It's all about trust. Data is trust. If I give you my data, I mean I'm giving you my information. And I'm sure that you are going to protect my information. The NCC have been talking about some agency that they said they were going to deal with them because they expose people data, the rule of privacy. Have you been in, I don't know whether it's happened to you, somebody calls you from the blues and begin to sell a product to you, and you begin to ask yourself, where did they get your phone number from? So I think the challenge is that we don't even trust the government to be able to keep our data, private data for us, because sometimes because of our attitude in terms of secrecy, when government is asking for our data, we say, oh, they have come again to use our data to enrich themselves, not to help us, because when we are giving data before, somebody has used it to his advantage. I think it's all about trust. Do you really trust the government to do what they want to do with the data? And do we really have it? Before, there used to be a national agency for data bank, even if that agency was in comatose or not really. But today, I think they are supposed to be up and doing. It's only in Nigeria. You just heard. I'm sure you are aware of the news that we will still have another new national ID card after taking Nigeria through this process. Now they are saying, oh, we are coming up with a new national ID card that will be driven by the bank. You have an ID card that you can use as ATM that you. So you see that we keep on. You go to immigration. You have to put your data. You go to update your maybe you go out to say, okay, you want to update your NCC. You go to your phone provider. They upload another data. You go to the airline. They upload another data. And so it's all about everybody. Seems there's no one room, one place to run data. I think for me, that is the challenge.
Okay, let's just go back to what we're really talking about, the fuel subsidy removal. In what ways has this helped to grow the economy of Nigeria? Because from the words of the president, it was to make sure that we don't go bankrupt. Where are we standing now in that, I don't know, in that picture? Are we still going bankrupt? Are we better than we used to be? Are we on our way to recovery? Where do you see Nigeria at this moment after removing fuel subsidy for 11 months now?
I think we are not where we were before. We are not where we want to be. But I think we are on our way there because, again, like I said, subsidy will create a lot of investment. We have not seen this investment. Hopefully, we start seeing them coming. The only one we have seen was the one driven by Dangote. And remember that this has been on for a while. So when it comes to some of this investment, you don't just see the result overnight. It takes time because it's been a long time. These things have been there. So where we are now, if what we had before now was anything to go by, then maybe it would have been a country that would have been on its knee if we're still paying subsidy according to the government data. So, but where we are now, I think it's not too bad. But again, it's not where we have really desired that we'll be with the removal of subsidy. Because at the removal of subsidy, nobody emphasizes that the exchange rate also will go up. So sometimes the challenge with Nigeria is that you are dealing with one issue one hand, and the other hand, another issue comes up that stops you from seeing the results of the previous decision. Because again, removal of subsidy is a fiscal policy. And then what are the monetary policy being? Has there been a synergy between the physical and the monetary side to see that once a policy comes in, those other one trying to complement each other to drive it? But if you look at it, removal of subsidy created inflation, and the cost of goods and services went up. Floating of the naira created another bottleneck. Cost of goods and services went up. So you see that there was no synergy in one person trying to address the need. And normally the monetary policy will come up with monetary policy decision. Then the physical side are the one to come up with balance to make sure that the shock from the monetary policy does not affect the people that much, does not affect job creation, does not affect household income. But in this case, the two policy from the physical and the monetary came at the same time, and they were detriment to the people. So when you look at that, you say, fine, in the short term, it has not been hurry. And I wasn't expecting it to be a hurry, because when you are used to doing something, the same thing all over and over, it's insane for you to think you have a different result. But when you change to do something different from what you did before, it's not immediate you see those results. It takes months, it could take years, but those results will definitely come.
Okay. Well, I thank you for your optimism, and I hope that as the nation journeys towards prosperity, the people within the nation also will journey towards prosperity. I'd like to thank you, Mukhtar, for coming on the show and sharing your thoughts this morning with us.
Thank you for having me.
We've been talking to Mukhtar Mohammed, international finance and economic analyst. He was talking to us from Lagos here. We'll take a very short break, and when we return, we'll use about 10 minutes to talk to our second guest. Stay with us.
My name is Adejokela Sisi. I'm the founder and creative director of Planet 3R. At Planet 3R, we convert textile and plastic waste into eco-friendly products. The motivation actually came from a rural community in Ibadan here. Whenever it rains, the whole place, people will not be able to go inside the community. If it rains overnight, people will not be able to go to school, they will not be able to go to work. Anytime the water now goes away, you now realize a lot of waste. And I was like, this is actually the root cause of this problem, improper waste management system. Then I look at it that, what can we do to solve this problem? And that was how I started using the weaving skill that I've acquired from my mom since I was 9 years old. Then I started using it to weave those waste to now make sure that we now convert them into beautiful items like bags, shoes, even clothing. I actually participated at Womenpreneur Season 3, that was 2021. One of the things I really gained at that time was business development. You know, it's not just about the talent now or having to know how to convert the waste or having the idea, but to be able to put it into a successful business. I really appreciate what Access Bank is doing for entrepreneurs. Let us now say women now, because most of the time women don't really have much of these advantages. I love the fact that there's an initiative for women. I want to encourage you to make sure that you go and apply honestly. Your life will not remain the same again.
Thanks for staying with us. We're being joined by Comrade Kolapo Joshua Olatunde, who is the NLC chairman of Ekiti State. Good morning and welcome to the program, Mr. Olatunde.
My brother, good morning.
Okay, we just want to look at 1st of May, which is Workers' Day. What are we expecting this year's Workers' Day? There's been a lot of talk about the fact that maybe the NLC is going to announce a new minimum wage expectation on May 1st. So let us know what the expectations are for the celebration of 1st of May this year.
Thank you very much. First and foremost, we have to return all glory to God for keeping us among the living. And the essence of celebration is to, one, thank God, and to look back the memory lane. What have we done right? What are the other things that we need to amend? Then 3 is to make our request known to our employer, the government this time around. And by the special grace of God this year, our expectations are not far from what I have said. 1, to thank God, to celebrate ourselves. Because if you don't blow your own trumpet, nobody will blow it for you. But for the fact that you are still living, cause for celebration. So At this junction, I want to congratulate all workers in Nigeria, workers in Africa, and workers all over the world for witnessing this year's May Day. As to our expectation, you have mentioned it already. The subsidy has been withdrawn, and wage award is online. It will soon roll off, and what we are expecting is increment, in the salary. And you will agree with me that the 5 years for the 130,000 minimum wage will expire this month. So come any moment from next month, we are due for new wage, and we are looking forward to federal government, to make the pronouncement. The negotiation is ongoing, and we know for sure that Nigeria workers will have a cause to smile. We don't want a situation whereby something that is not commensurate with the price of commodity in markets, will be announced. It is done, whether workers may not like it, but I know for sure that the government, the employer, will equally like, to do the needful for workers in Nigeria.
Yeah, but the government may not do exactly as the NLC is asking. What is the NLC asking for? At some point, we heard ₦1 million as a minimum wage. Sometimes they say it's 250 or 300,000. Some time it was 650 or so, or thereabout. What is the stand of NLC regarding this minimum wage? What are they asking for?
A negotiation. The principle of negotiation, you have to start from top. You don't start from the bottom. And as such, we are in 30,000 minimum wage now. Nobody will say if you want to negotiate, you start from 30,000 again. Oh. And therefore, that is why NSC is asking for 600,000 minimum wage. And if you look at the price of commodity in the market, you will agree with me that even at 600,000, if time is not taken, it may not be able to take you home. The price of fuel, the price of rice, the price of diesel, the accommodation in Lagos, Port Harcourt, and in Abuja. It's on the high side. And you don't negotiate for people in Port Harcourt, Abuja, Lagos separate. You negotiate everything together, and as such, we have to start from top, where it's substantial. Then government now be trying to drag it down, things like that. And we come out with a data. This is how much this goes for. This is how much that one goes for. And as such, to make ends meet, you have to give workers what can actually take them home. You know that 30,000 minimum wage is nothing to write home about at all now. It's not even sufficient to take workers to place of work in a time like this. So we are looking up to federal government, to other employers, that they too will do the needful. If at the end of the day, what is released is not commensurate, the labor will not be pleased with it. But I know for sure that we have the federal government, I think that is reasonable, that will do the needful, and that is our expectation.
Yeah, but what if they don't do what you're expecting them to do? Because I understand from all the agitations, from all the fight of labor, I know that some agreements were reached as far back as 2009 until now. Some of these agreements have not been met. So what if this time they still fail to give you what you are expecting, or at least something really close to what you're expecting?
It continues. Yeah, continues. Struggle continues. And that is the basis.
We can't hear you anymore. I don't know if... Yes.
From 86 as a result of working for 24/7. And at the end of the day, in 1890, we were able to get 8 hours working day. So struggle continues, but I know for sure that the government of Nigeria will have a cause to listen to workers vis-a-vis the price of commodity in markets. You don't need an angel or a prophet to tell you now that your take-home must be this. Because if you buy fuel now at the rate of, say, for more than 700 naira per liter, you want to fill your tank, there is no way you won't fill it more than 50,000. And depending on where you are working, there is no way you won't fill your tank twice. Some may even fill it 4 times. If the capacity of your tank takes 50,000 naira, to fill your tank, and you have to fill it 4 times, in a month. That's 50 times 4. That costs you already 200,000 naira without feeding, without accommodation, without powering. Other bills.
Okay.
What are we talking about?
So just before we go, I'd like to just
continues.
Yeah, I'd like to just pick your mind on.
I wouldn't like to preempt them. I know that government will actually come the aid of workers, because workers are the engine room of development. If workers are not taken care of, there won't be any form of development. When you place workers, they will pray for the nation, they will work for the nation, and the nation will move forward. We are not moving forward today as a result of workers that are not being taken care of. That is the truth of the matter. Take care of the workers, let them be happy, and you see how the nation will move forward.
Okay, let me just pick your mind. Our time is actually up now, but we still have like a minute. Apart from just the money that you're talking about, the minimum wage and all that, there was some kind of intervention. The government said they will reduce the working hours for a lot of workers, especially those in the government's employ, 3 days in a week. And because they said the economy is really biting on the people. Now, governments are returning workers to 5 days in a week. And is that still on the table of the NLC, or you're just going to let it go, even though the economic situation has not improved? But now, your workers will be going back to work 5 days in a week like they used to go to before that small intervention came.
It's not commensurate on what is on the table. If the essence of workers is to work and bring productivity, why are you therefore reducing the number of time they work per week? It means that we don't even know what we are doing at all. If you go to work and you are productive, why reducing the number of work? Instead, give them what it takes. Give them the money that will take them to their place of work so that they can work effectively and be productive and move the nation forward, especially in the area of economy. But you now reducing the time of their work, it means that indirectly we don't know what they are doing. I don't think that is the solution. The solution is give them what is expected of them to perform at the maximum. Look at other political office holders. Can you compare the take-home of workers who are toiling day and night with that of senator, with that of rep, with that of top political office holder? Do we have different markets? We go to the same market. That is the truth of the matter. The earlier we come to this realization, the better for us. And at this point in time, I want to encourage the federal government, the state government, and the local government to look inward and place workers where they belong so that they will be able to work assiduously to give our nation, to put our nation into where we're supposed to be in the area of economy. And it is there we move forward. If we look at developed